Since evening, the air had been getting colder. The chill was intensifying, and the moon was shining in its full glory. It was a November night, near the end of the month. The wind had picked up, so I thought it would be wise to close all the windows and doors to keep the cold from entering the house. I got up and went upstairs to close all the room doors. As I stepped into my sister's room, I noticed she wasn't there. The light was on and the door was open. I figured she might be in the bathroom. I waited for a couple of minutes and even called out to her, but when there was no response, I opened the bathroom door. No one was there either. I switched off the light, closed the door, and went back downstairs. After checking and closing the other room doors, I headed toward our grandfather's room. But before I could reach it, I stopped in my tracks. I saw my sister inside, talking to our grandfather. I began walking toward the door, slowly and gently knocked. From inside, my grandfather responded, giving me permission to enter. I opened the door, and the moment I stepped inside, I saw something that truly surprised me. My sister was sitting on the floor, massaging Grandpa's feet. I was stunned. This girl had never even poured herself a glass of water, and now here she was, showing so much kindness. What had changed? Ever since our parents passed away, we had been living with our grandfather. The sight of my sister being alone with him at night unsettled me. She had never lifted a finger to help anyone, and now she was offering this kind of care? Something wasn't adding up. She was definitely hiding something from me. I was still lost in my thoughts when Grandpa spoke up. "Come in, dear. What's the matter? Can't sleep? You're still awake at this hour?" Seeing me enter, my sister's face instantly turned pale, and even Grandpa looked surprised. As I glanced at their expressions, I couldn't help but wonder, what was so secret that my presence made them so uncomfortable? Thoughts began racing through my head. No matter how many times I tried to push them away, my mind kept circling back to one conclusion: something wasn't right. Grandpa's voice pulled me back. "It's nothing like that," I said quickly. "It's just getting really cold, so I was checking all the doors." "I went to your room too," I said, turning to my sister. "But you weren't there, so I came here. I heard voices from outside, so I thought I'd join you." Then I looked at her and added, "It's funny though, you've never even fetched a glass of water for yourself. And now here you are, massaging Grandpa's feet. Everything all right?" At my question, both Grandpa and my sister flinched. It was as if I had caught them red-handed. Watching their shifting expressions confirmed what I had feared. Something was definitely off. "No, it's nothing like that, sis," she replied quickly. "Grandpa couldn't sleep and neither could I, so I thought I'd come check on him. When I arrived, he was groaning in pain, so I thought at least I could massage his feet. After all, he's our only support left since Mom and Dad passed. It's our duty to take care of him." She spoke like someone trying hard to justify herself. "I didn't ask for an explanation," I responded calmly. "I was just talking." Both Grandpa and my sister noticed the edge in my tone. "Dear, you should go rest now," Grandpa said, trying to ease the tension. "It's getting late and the cold is increasing. Go lie down before you catch a cold." Before he could finish, my sister interrupted. "But Grandpa, you're in pain. Let me keep massaging a little longer. I can do it." "Rest," my sister replied immediately. "I told you, dear, I'm fine. And besides, it's very late now. You should understand this," Grandfather said again, gently advising her. My sister quickly got up, slipped on her slippers, and walked toward her room. "You too, dear. Go rest, and close the door on your way out," Grandpa said, turning to me. Hearing him, I smiled politely and bid him good night before heading to my room. My father was a well-known businessman in the city. My mother also helped him run the business. They had a love marriage. Both had studied together in college and then university. They built their business together, and by the grace of God, it flourished. My father became quite respected in the city. For some time, he had to travel abroad for an important matter. During his absence, my mother managed the business on her own and took care of us too. We were only two sisters. We had no brother. Because it was a love marriage, my grandfather had been upset with my father and had thrown him out of the house. My paternal aunt, who was younger than my father, chose to stay with Grandpa and took care of him. I clearly remembered my mother telling me that when we were born, Grandpa wasn't happy. He didn't even come to see us. Grandfather and my aunt had completely cut ties with my father, and with us as well. One day, my father called to say he was returning to the country, and my mother went to the airport to pick him up. I remember clearly. The day Dad went abroad, Grandpa came to visit us. He even apologized to my mother. That day, while she went to the airport, my sister and I stayed home with Grandpa. He had insisted she take us along, but she refused and left us in the care of our housemaid. That same day, their car brakes failed on the way back. There was a terrible accident. Both my parents died. I was about 7 years old then. My sister was 6. We didn't understand much. From that day on, it was just Grandpa who stood as a shadow over our heads. My aunt had moved into a separate house. She would send enough money every month to cover our needs and give us a good education. According to her, my mother was responsible for my father's death. She believed Mom had wanted to harm Dad, but both ended up dying. But even as children, we knew that wasn't true. We had seen with our own eyes the love between our parents. I had never seen Grandpa as a soft-hearted person. But lately, especially with my younger sister, his behavior had completely changed. And that confused me. Grandpa never used to like us much. Even after our parents' death, his behavior remained cold and distant. But now, all of a sudden, he was being affectionate and gentle. Something didn't feel right. I couldn't explain it, but I was sure Grandpa had a reason, a hidden motive for acting this way. What could it be? Could it possibly have something to do with my sister? No, I told myself. It can't be that. I tried to calm my racing thoughts. I lay in bed with my eyes shut, but sleep wouldn't come. My sister's innocent face kept flashing before my eyes, and so did Grandpa's. I didn't know why, but something just didn't feel right anymore. Outside, a light drizzle had started, but inside me a storm was raging. I had closed the windows earlier to block out the cold, but now the room felt suffocating. I opened the window again and leaned forward, breathing in the fresh air. The chilly breeze filled the room, but my inner restlessness didn't calm. A single thought kept tormenting me. What if my sister is being used for something wrong? The entire night passed in anxious thoughts. The wind was so cold that my room had turned icy. Worried I might fall sick, I closed the window again and returned to bed. Sleep had abandoned me. I didn't even realize when, under the weight of all those thoughts, my eyes finally closed. At the breakfast table the next morning, I noticed that Grandpa was being unusually kind and gentle toward my younger sister. He kept encouraging her to eat properly and even picked up things to place in front of her. "Dear, have an egg. It's really good for your health," Grandpa said softly. I was startled at his tone. No, Grandpa. Maybe you don't know, but I'm allergic to eggs," my sister said politely. "There's no such thing as an allergy. You must eat it. If you don't, how will you get strong?" he insisted, smiling. His words made me deeply uncomfortable. I cast a sharp look at my sister, but both of them completely ignored me as if I didn't even exist at the table. This closeness between my sister and Grandpa was starting to bother me more than I could explain. She was my sister, and if anything happened to her, I'd be just as hurt. But today's conversation confirmed my suspicions. There was something off about Grandpa's behavior. His intentions didn't seem pure anymore. I silently decided that I would keep a close eye on him from now on. "You should eat quickly. I'll drop you off at college," I said suddenly, trying to redirect my sister's attention toward me. "Why should you drop her? The driver's there. He'll take her," Grandpa quickly intervened. "I'll take her myself. She's my responsibility. I don't trust the driver," I said, locking eyes with him. "But dear, he's been with us for years. Why wouldn't you trust him?" Grandpa questioned, sounding slightly irritated. I didn't want to argue, but I didn't like his tone or questions. "When I'm here, why should my sister go with someone else?" "I'll take her," I replied firmly. This time, Grandpa noticed the sharpness in my tone. Instead of arguing further, he went silent. I turned to my sister again. "Will you hurry up now? I'm getting late. I have university too." Okay, sis. What's gotten into you? You're acting like a soldier or something," she said with mild irritation. "Yeah, I act like that. Because I'm not stupid enough to ignore people's behavior like you are," I said, clearly targeting Grandpa with my words. He noticed, but he said nothing. "Fine, let's go," she said quickly, grabbing her bag. She kissed Grandpa on the forehead and walked over to me. Her overly affectionate behavior didn't sit well with me. I stared at her, annoyed, and we both walked toward the lawn. As I reached the car, my aunt and her son arrived unexpectedly. My aunt immediately hugged my younger sister and kissed her forehead. Her sudden display of affection confused me. She never liked either of us, so why was she being so loving now? After hugging my sister, she walked over to me and kissed me on the cheek as well. I was completely puzzled by both Grandpa and my aunt's changing attitudes. I gestured for my sister to get into the car, said goodbye to them both, and we drove off toward college. That night, I was extremely tired and fell asleep as soon as I got home from university. I didn't even eat dinner. I was so deeply asleep that I didn't even realize where I was or what time it was. In the middle of the night, I woke up, starving. The hunger had become unbearable. I got up, turned on the light, opened the door, and walked toward the kitchen. Just as I was about to reach it, a thought struck me. What about my sister? Was she asleep? Had she eaten anything? It was always my habit to make sure she was taken care of before I slept. But tonight, because of exhaustion, I had fallen asleep early without checking on her or eating myself. I changed direction and climbed the stairs toward her room. Strange thoughts kept creeping into my mind. Since she had grown up, nothing like this had ever happened. This was all new to me. When I reached her room, I was shocked once again. My fears started to resurface. Her room was dark, the lights were off, the door was shut. That was unusual. I mustered the courage to open the door and called out her name. No answer. Still trying to push away my anxiety, I knocked on the bathroom door. Again, no response. I gently touched the door. It swung open on its own. She wasn't there either. Where could she have gone? Questions started pouring into my head. I slowly exited her room and walked down the stairs with a heavy heart, heading toward my own room. I needed to check downstairs to be sure. Maybe she had fallen asleep somewhere else. As soon as I came downstairs, I realized that my sister wasn't anywhere in the house. I checked every room thoroughly before finally heading toward Grandpa's room. I knocked several times, but there was no response. I thought maybe Grandpa was in deep sleep. So I slowly opened the door myself. What I saw made the ground slip from beneath my feet. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. Was Grandpa really capable of this? At that moment, I felt not only betrayed by him, but also deeply angry at my sister. Still, I couldn't do anything. It was the middle of the night and my aunt was home too. If I had confronted my sister right there, it could have turned into a scene that no one would forget. I didn't know why, but what my eyes had just witnessed made me feel deeply hurt. It was as though I was suddenly thrown back into the bitter memories of the past, the hatred Grandpa had always shown my mother. I remembered how when we were born, he didn't even come to see us. I never thought Grandpa would be capable of something like this. Trying to maintain control over myself, I stepped further into the room and gently woke my sister, who was sleeping at Grandpa's feet. She jolted awake, and Grandpa also opened his eyes. I couldn't help but wonder, were they truly asleep or just pretending to be? I needed answers, but I had none. Why did my sister keep coming to Grandpa's room every night? Did she go there by choice or was she being called? These questions kept hammering my brain. The hunger that had woken me up earlier had completely disappeared. I told my sister to come with me to my room. Without waiting, I led her there. "What do you go to his room for every night?" I shouted as soon as we stepped into my room. "Have you forgotten what he did to Mom and Dad? Do you remember when we were born? He didn't even want to see our faces. And now suddenly, you're feeling affectionate toward him?" My sister stared at me, stunned. "If I ever see you in his room again, I swear you'll have to answer to me," I yelled. "What's wrong with you, sis? Why are you saying such things? He's our grandfather, our blood. And he's old now. It's our responsibility to look after him. After Dad, he's all we have." She was getting emotional, and that frightened me. "Why can't you understand that he's not truly ours? He never accepted us, and he never will," I argued. "But things are different now," she interrupted. "Don't you see how much he's changed? He really loves me now." "That's just your imagination. He hasn't changed. And even if he has, there must be a reason behind it. Why can't you just understand what I'm trying to say?" "I really don't understand you," she said. "I went to his room because I was scared. I came to your room first, but you were sound asleep. I didn't want to disturb you. That's why I went to Grandpa and stayed there." "What's so wrong with that, sis? You're overreacting for no reason." to me it felt like she was siding with him, as if she wasn't under any pressure at all. She was getting close to him by choice. She climbed into bed while I sat on a chair, silently watching her. All I could see around me was betrayal. For the first time in my life, I started doubting my own sister. I had always thought after mom and dad were gone, she was the only support I had left. But now, seeing her slowly drift away, my heart ached deeply. I missed my parents terribly. Surrounded by so many hypocrites, I felt like I was fighting a battle alone. I couldn't help but wonder, if mom and dad were still alive, would things have turned out this way? I had taken a leave from university and stayed home. But how long could I keep guarding her like this? I was exhausted from all of it. Sometimes I wanted to throw Grandpa out of the house, the way he had once thrown out my father. But then fear of society would silence me. What would people say? That we threw an old man out into the streets? But people's opinions were one thing. My sister's life was another. Now in my own house, everyone seemed suspicious to me. To tell you the truth, I felt like I was suffocating. There wasn't a single person around me I could truly trust or confide in. Even while being surrounded by my own family, I felt like a stranger among them. I needed to breathe, really breathe. I wanted to step out of the house and into the open air. I picked up the car keys and decided to visit the graveyard. On the way, I stopped and bought some roses, then turned the car toward the cemetery. Once I reached, I gently scattered rose petals on my parents' graves, recited a prayer, and sat there silently. Being near their graves gave me a strange sense of peace. For the first time in ages, I felt like I could pour out my heart without being judged. I sat next to my father's grave and started crying. Not a single word came from my mouth, but the tears wouldn't stop. The graveyard caretaker saw me and walked over. He placed a hand gently on my head and said, "Child, what's wrong? Don't cry like this by a grave. It causes pain to the deceased." "This is the only place I have left," I whispered, looking up at him. "If not here, then where else can I go?" He went to get me a glass of water, and I quietly murmured through tears, "Mom, Dad, you both left too soon. How am I supposed to handle all this? Everything is slipping through my fingers." I thought at least my sister would be my support, but it feels like even she is slipping away from me now. I feel so alone, Dad. "You and Mom should never have left us like this, especially not in the middle of so many hypocrites. I don't know what to do anymore." The caretaker returned with water. I drank a little, handed the glass back, and slowly walked over to my mother's grave. "Why did you leave me, Mom?" I whispered. Mothers should never leave their daughters like this, especially not so early. A mother is like a reflection of her daughter, and today I feel broken. I miss you more than words can say. The tears returned, flooding down my cheeks uncontrollably. My eyes turned red from crying, but I stayed there for a long while. I didn't get up until I felt some sense of peace settle over me. It felt like someone had wrapped me in their arms, offering silent comfort. It's true what they say. Even if your parents pass away, when you visit their graves, it feels like they're still alive, still listening, still consoling you. Once I finally felt calm, I stood up and began walking back toward my car. I sat behind the wheel, but my mind was still stuck in the chaos of home. As soon as I arrived home, what I saw shattered me all over again. My sister was massaging Grandpa's head. They were laughing, talking as if nothing else existed. Watching that scene crushed me. I could only remember all the cruelty my mother had endured. To be honest, deep down, I had always suspected that Grandpa was somehow involved in my parents' deaths. If he hadn't made life so miserable for my father, maybe he wouldn't have left the country. Maybe that fatal accident on his return wouldn't have happened. Back then, I was just a child, too small to speak up. But now I was grown. I understood everything, and I had the strength to speak. Yet I remained silent, afraid of what people would say. They'll accuse the daughters of mistreating their aging grandfather, I thought. Still, seeing how close my sister had become with Grandpa, it was too much. At first, I wanted to confront Grandpa directly, but then I changed my mind. I needed to talk to my sister first. I had heard so many terrible stories. Siblings having inappropriate relationships, uncles violating their nieces. I had seen blood ties turn cold and boundaries dissolve. I couldn't let my father's name be stained like that. I had decided tonight I would speak to her, clearly and without hesitation. They were still laughing and chatting together when I approached, but as soon as they saw me, they went silent. Their sudden silence was loud, unsettling. I called my sister to my room. "Don't you feel ashamed of what you're doing?" I snapped. "Have you forgotten everything?" "What am I doing?" she asked, looking at me in disbelief. "Why are you talking like this, sis?" "You're becoming more irritable by the day," my sister said to me in an annoyed tone. I didn't like her attitude at all. "And you're always hovering around Grandpa? I don't like it one bit," I replied bluntly. "Oh, so that's what this is about. You're just jealous," she shot back. "Jealous that Grandpa cares more about me than you." Her words stunned me. Was this really my sister? The same girl who once didn't even raise her eyes in front of me? And now she was boldly talking back as if she owed me nothing. "Look, I can't tolerate this anymore," I said sharply. "What exactly is going on between you two?" She instantly screamed, "You should be ashamed of yourself for even saying something like that. How can you talk like this? You're my sister." "I'm disgusting," I snapped. "And what about what you're doing?" "There's nothing inappropriate going on," she shouted. "He's our grandfather. He's my father's father. I'm ashamed that my own sister thinks of me like this." Without another word, she stormed out of the room. The way she yelled at me left a bitter feeling in my heart. I couldn't take it anymore. I had made up my mind. I was going to send Grandpa away from this house before things spiraled completely out of control. And so I picked up the phone and called my aunt. "You need to come and take Grandpa back to your home. He can't stay here anymore," I said firmly. My aunt was speechless. She came over with her son, Italian. "Grandpa isn't going anywhere. Have you lost your mind, sister?" My younger sister stood in front of me again. "Why not?" I shouted back. "Didn't he throw our father out of this house once? Why shouldn't he face the same?" "What's the point in repeating an old mistake?" my sister said, trying to reason with me. "What's done is done. Don't make it worse. You know how much we suffered after that, how we had to rebuild everything from scratch. He's the only family we have left now. Who else do we have?" "I'm not here for your arguments," I replied coldly. "I've decided he won't stay here another day." "Then hear me out too," she said emotionally. "If he goes, I go with him." "You'd leave your sister for these people?" I asked in disbelief. "I never thought you'd do this. The same people who abandoned your parents. You really think they care about you?" She stood in silence. She knew deep down that I wasn't wrong. Finally, my aunt spoke in a heavy tone. "Enough. Stop fighting. I'll take him with me." "No, you won't," my sister interjected. "Grandpa will stay here." "Well, if he stays, I go," I warned. I started gathering my clothes and packing my things. My sister kept begging me not to leave, pleading with tearful eyes, but I ignored her completely. I picked up my bag and headed toward the door. Just then, my cousin, my aunt's son, arrived and tried to stop me. "Who are you to stop me?" I snapped. "I don't want to stay in this house for even one more second. I can't breathe in here. Do you think I'll sit quietly and watch them play this sick game?" "Please, just calm down, sit and listen," he said gently. "Maybe it's not what you think." "Not what I think?" I scoffed. "Then what is it? Why does she go to his room in the middle of the night? Why are they always laughing and joking together? She massages him, fetches things for him, does everything he wants. But for herself, she's never lifted a finger. What do you think I am? A child? You think I don't see what's going on?" My voice was filled with rage. And that's when my sister screamed back, "What kind of sister are you? If nothing else, at least respect the bond we share. He's my grandfather too. Serving him is my duty." "Why don't you just admit it?" my sister snapped. "You're after this inheritance. You're accusing me just so you can take everything for yourself." I was stunned. I couldn't believe this was the same girl I once called my sister. She was accusing me of something so vile. something I had never even imagined. God was my witness. I never cared about the property. I only wanted to protect her from ruining her own life. If you want all this property, I said quietly, I said, you can have it. I'll transfer everything to your name. But accusing me like this, was that really necessary? Did you even think once before saying all this? Her words pierced through me like arrows. I just stood there, silently staring at her. When I said something so serious, my aunt could no longer stay silent either. She stepped forward. "Have you lost your senses, girl?" she shouted. "But do you even know who you're talking about? That man is your father's father." "I know exactly who he is," I said coldly, locking eyes with her. "He's a manipulative liar. He destroyed my mother's life, and now he's trying to do the same to my sister." "Enough," my sister suddenly shouted. "If you say one more word, I'll forget you're my sister." She stood against me once again. "Why shouldn't I speak?" I snapped. "I'll shout it from the rooftops. I'll tell everyone what disgusting games you all have been playing in this house." My voice had grown so loud that Grandpa heard me from his room, and what happened next silenced the entire house. He clutched his chest and collapsed into a chair. My cousin Adisham rushed to catch him, and my aunt and sister immediately followed in panic. I stood frozen, watching them. "They're pretending," I muttered. Now that the truth is out, he's suddenly having chest pain? If he hadn't done such things in the first place, there'd be no reason to act like this now. "For God's sake, stop!" my sister screamed. "If anything happens to Grandpa, I'll never forgive you." I stared into her eyes as she challenged me. "Oh, now you care so much," I sneered. "He won't die. It's just another one of his performances." Muttering under my breath, I turned and walked back to my room. Meanwhile, my aunt, sister, and Atisham rushed Grandpa to the hospital. His condition was serious, and he was struggling to breathe. Over and over again, he kept repeating something I could hear even from a distance. "I'm not that kind of man. She's my granddaughter. My heart. She's my son's daughter. I see my son in her." His voice was faint. The words trembled with weakness. My aunt tried to comfort him, but it was clear he was losing strength. Atisham called an ambulance, and they rushed him to the hospital. As soon as they left, those broken words kept echoing in my mind. Strangely, I didn't feel a single ounce of regret. I returned to my room and sat on the sofa. I was about to close my eyes when suddenly, I heard what sounded like my mother's voice. "What have you done?" she said softly. "This isn't you. I thought you were wise. I thought you were forgiving. I believed my daughter would rise above pain and let go. But instead, you've turned into the same person your grandfather once was. He caused our death, and now you've become the reason for his. Go to him. Apologize before it's too late. Right now, you are the one who is wrong. If no one else, you should have trusted your sister. Before questioning her character, you should have remembered she's your blood. She could never do anything that would disgrace you or your parents. Blood may grow cold, but it never stops being blood." The voice faded, and I sat there, devastated, frozen, ashamed, realizing that maybe, just maybe, I had lost more than I ever thought possible. "They weren't strangers. He was your grandfather," my aunt shouted. "If your sister showed a little compassion and cared for him, it wasn't some kind of favor. It was her duty. After your father passed away, he became your responsibility. If your father were alive, he would have taken care of him the same way." I stood up in a shock, my eyes instantly filling with tears. Because the truth hit me hard. I had been wrong. Nothing was the way I thought it was. I had made a terrible mistake. Realizing this, I immediately rushed toward the hospital. I was still climbing down the stairs when I saw my sister coming up. "How's Grandpa?" I asked urgently. "He's still alive," she replied bitterly. "He's not dead yet, although you left no stone unturned trying to kill him." Her voice was sharp and her tone colder than I had ever heard. He's still not out of danger, she added. And I'm honestly shocked that a so-called educated woman like you could think so disgustingly. How could you even believe I would ever do something that would disgrace our parents' memory, especially with someone who is by relation our father's father? My sister's words silenced me. I like Atisham, she continued. We both want to get married. That night, I went to Grandpa's room to tell him. He wanted to arrange my marriage with one of his friend's sons, and before he gave his word, I wanted to speak to him. When I told him everything, he promised to let me marry Atisham. I didn't tell you because, well, you never liked Aunt in the first place. I stood still, listening as the truth poured out. And tell me this, what proof do you have that Grandpa or Aunt were responsible for Mom and Dad's accident? Their time had come. They lived only as long as they were meant to. That's not something you can blame others for. You held on to this hatred for no reason, she said quietly. That old man put his hand on an orphan girl's head in kindness, and you twisted it into something ugly. You insulted me, and you broke his heart too. Her words shook me. My eyes widened as I realized how horribly I had misunderstood everything. I had sinned, deeply. I had spoken without proof, without any truth. I tried calling Atisham multiple times, but his phone didn't connect. Pacing in my room, restless, I suddenly thought of Aunt. Maybe I should call her? But just as I dialed her number, I stopped. How could I face her? I had accused her father of something so vile. She would never forgive me. Still, I needed to make things right. I went to my sister's room. She wasn't there. The maid told me she had taken food to the hospital. I knew I had to go too. Even if I didn't know what to say, even if I had to face their anger, I had to apologize. No matter what. I grabbed the car keys and drove straight to the hospital. As soon as I arrived, I saw Atisham and Aunt, but when they saw me, they turned away, clearly avoiding me. And why wouldn't they? I was the reason for all this pain. My sister stood nearby, quietly crying. I went to her and gently said, "You should have told me. I would have come with you." She looked at me sharply. Told you? Why? So you could make Grandpa's condition even worse? She mocked me with her tone. What would you have done here anyway? You already did enough damage at home. Can't you forgive me? I said softly, ashamed. I really am sorry. I didn't mean to hurt you. She laughed bitterly. Forgive you? Why should you feel sorry? You're the queen of that house now, right? You wanted Grandpa out of the house? Fine. Once he recovers, I'll make sure he never comes back. You can have the house all to yourself. My sister was still furious. Just then, our aunt came over to calm her down. This is a hospital, not a place for arguments, she said gently. She's realized her mistake. That's enough for us. Now just pray your grandfather regains consciousness. Hearing those words from my aunt made my eyes fill with tears. I hugged her tightly and sobbed, "Please forgive me. I spent my whole life blaming you for my parents' death. And now, because of me, Grandpa ended up in this condition." She consoled me and replied softly, "Hatred is one thing, child, but you shouldn't have stooped so low as to accuse your own grandfather, your own sister. You never even stopped to think that the truth might be something else." I cried even harder and said, "I was blind, Aunt. My hatred consumed me. I never tried to understand what Grandpa's intentions were. I never understood him. Or you." "I know, and I know," she said. "But we never hated your parents. Yes, your grandfather was upset for a while, but no parent stays angry at their child forever. After all, he was his son. Every parent has dreams for their children, and when those dreams are crushed, they sometimes choose silence over confrontation." She paused and added, "Your mother never accepted your grandfather as her father-in-law. She kept the truth from you girls, but your grandfather had accepted her long